So, what brought us to this place in history, in our culture, that causes the need for our nation to be restored? We have gone off track in America. Here are some ideas that we've come up with that we believe are part of the basic reasons. And one of those things is complacency, being pleased with oneself and being self-satisfied. Another reason, passivity, which causes a kind of paralysis. And then mindsets, to do whatever you want with no consequences. Those, it's not an exhaustive list, but those are some of the reasons that we have, in fact, gone off track in our culture, and we need to start anew. Our culture is not only broken, but it is, in fact, being held captive. Culture comes out of the hearts and minds of men. What we think and what we believe will eventually become the norm in culture. But now we're looking forward. What we believed in the past, we can no longer go back to. We have to become more than that. And as we were doing our research, we basically came up with 3 types of individuals today. And those types start with peacekeeper. They basically don't want to ever rock the boat. Many of our churches fall into this category. They believe it's not part of their job to get involved in politics. They just want to love on people and live in a type of purity from social conflict. They are not willing to make political statements or protest against anything. The second category of individual that we came up with were warriors. They refuse to compromise. They are all about activism, and they're always upset about something. They're always in warfare mode. They're pure warriors and the voice of dangerous people. And finally, they don't trust anybody. And third and final, statesmen. They have wisdom to know what battles to pick and fight. They know when to do things covertly and overtly. They have wisdom to understand timing, not getting ahead of when culture is ready for a new course. We actually need an amalgam of all 3 and have the wisdom of a statesman, the love and care for people as peacekeepers, and the ability to be strategic fighters and do the unpopular thing as warriors. So how do we do this? Let's start by asking ourselves what our passions are as individuals. What lights you up and what stirs you up personally? What riles you up? What gets you excited? For some of us, we may have to think about that for a while. Others may know instinctively what their passion is, and they have no problem pursuing it. They'll know what they're all about and what they're here for. Answering those questions, what your passions are, what gets you stirred up, will give you the answers that you're looking for. And the values that you hold, the foundational values, will actually keep you on course and not get you off track. It is important that our values and principles are based and rooted in godly principles, and that is in fact what will keep you on the straight course. That leads us to the vision of the areas of cultural influence that absolutely must be transformed. And so, Dwan, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview of that?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I just want to take a moment to say, as Don mentioned, we have been involved in this now starting on our 8th year. And when a lot of us who have been there from the beginning had gotten involved in this, we did so based on a certain amount of passion, as Shar was saying, and based on a love for our country, and based on the ideas that we did not want to see our country head in the direction we felt was going to be inevitable with the things that we knew that were coming into place resulting from elections that had just transpired. But what has happened over the last couple of years is that while people kind of jumped on the bandwagon and we got involved and we started doing things, a lot of it was very much politically focused. And there were the signs holdings, there was the activity in Denver, there was letters being written, and all of that is important. However, through the course of events and over the last several years, some people have come to recognize that politics wasn't truly their thing, that they were not called into the area of politics. That didn't mean that they didn't love their country anymore, that they didn't want to be involved in some way, but they thought maybe they didn't have a role to play any longer because of that just losing that heart, or coming to the recognition that that wasn't where they were called to be. And so, as a result of that, then, as we got together and we prayed and we asked the Lord to lead us in a new, in a more, I should say, more focused direction, where so many more people that had no longer felt that they were needed, or that there was a place for them, I should say, could be brought back into the arena of their passion and their desires, the things that they were gifted in, as Shar mentioned, so that they could continue to be involved and make a difference, to influence, as Don mentioned, our culture, not just our politics. So, with that said, let me just do this first here. This is what we have felt like the Lord is leading us into. Now, this is not an original concept. For those of you that are familiar with the 7 areas of influence, but this can be very, very specifically focused to 912 members and those who are very passionate about our nation and changing our culture. So, just to give you a brief overview, and then Shar will go into some more details about it, there are primarily 7 areas of influence in our culture where, if you look at every one of them, education, family, government, religion, media, arts, entertainment, and business, you can probably see and determine that those people that affect our culture the most are the ones that are most influential in these areas of influence. And for a lot of us, as we take the time to reflect on this and think about this more in detail, we recognize that most of the people that are very influential, at the top of this influence, if you will, have values and principles that are very different than our own. And what we would love to see happen, what we believe can happen, as those of us who are passionate about our country and believe in the original founder's intent for this nation, that we can begin to remove or have a stronger influence, maybe that's a better way to put it, have a stronger influence in these areas so that they can be radically changed and we can see this country transition and change and be transformed, because we are now engaged in every one of these areas intentionally and in a committed way. So Shar, why don't you go ahead and explain what this means specifically for us?
Okay, so as you think about the areas of passion or interest that you have, they're going to become real obvious to you, and as I said earlier, there will be some that know immediately what those passions and areas of interest are. But for those of us who have maybe been sitting back and not really thinking about that, just really try to do some soul searching in that area. And then as you do that, I believe that you're going to have some understanding about what really interests you, what areas you really are called to be involved in. And as 912 members, once you've come to that understanding, you're going to be able then to recruit people for that area of interest and begin to educate them in the things, basically taking us back to the original intent of an area of an influence. That's going to cause a level of activism that's going to literally permeate out into not only our families, but our communities and to the general population. In the midst of recruiting and educating people in that area, and then literally becoming active in promoting it, then we're going to develop relationships with people. And in the middle of developing a relationship with people, you come to know needs in that area, in those people, in the community, whatever it might be. And in the midst of that, benevolence, the sowing of seeds, the caring for others, meeting needs will begin to occur. And as that occurs, there is a bond that's formed. And that really builds trust and helps to then do all of these things that you've already begun back here. And finally, political involvement. There are going to be things that, regardless of what area of influence that you're really called to move and operate in and begin to educate and recruit people and begin to advocate for those areas of influence, the original intent, you're going to also have times when political involvement is going to be absolutely necessary, regardless of which area that you're called to. So that could be regarding the Second Amendment. It could be regarding health care. Whatever it is, there will be times when everyone is called literally to arms, to send letters and send emails, to go and give testimony up at the state legislature, whatever it might be, getting involved as a precinct leader or as a division leader, whatever area is required in order to affect political involvement and the activism required to make changes for our, not only the state and the nation, but locally. And so all of this will result in communities being built for the purpose of transforming culture, because it is the hearts and minds of people, the ideas that we dwell upon and that we come into agreement with. Those ideas are powerful, and they will in fact not only transform ourselves, but change the people around us, change our communities, change our churches, and change the direction of culture. Culture is the thing that drives all of these areas, and that ultimately whoever is at the top of these areas is the one who wields the most power. And it's important that we have that kind of influence, that we gradually influence every one of those areas. And so with that, we have a vision that that we've actually come up with that pretty much speaks to all of that.
It does, it does. And as I mentioned initially early at the beginning, that we felt like we, along with so many of you, have this passion. It's a passion that's similar to the founders in what they had in terms of, theirs was a little bit different, and we'll explain that, but there is a connection there between what the founders did and what we feel the vision of 912 is now. So let me just read it to you first. As a new generation of awakened Americans endowed with the spirit of the founding fathers, we are called through transformation to advance a fresh and expanded vision to be the salt and light required for the restoration of America. And by expanded, we mean that we are not called, as our founders were, to start a new nation, but we are called to transform the nation that they started, to see that transformed so that we can continue to be, as this says, the salt and the light of the earth. And so we are very excited about this. We know that so many of you are so gifted and talented. You've been involved in several things. We are hoping that this, as you look at this, now will just begin to click and within you, just that you have a role to play, and it's important and it's critical, and we need each and every one of you, regardless of what area of life you feel called to. There is a role for you to play, and we are looking forward to all of us partnering together to that end.
And so with that, we just want to say you can be looking for additional information coming to you to give you ideas about how you can become involved with 912 in whatever area of influence you are led or feel drawn to. And so please be looking for that. And we look forward to hearing from you about what we've presented here today. And we look forward to your engagement. Thanks so much.